Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 14th. Well, we had an exciting day. We got to new highs, and then the Fed announced that if the economy continues to improve, they're going to back off of their purchases, and that caused a little bit of the excitement to fade out. But some of it was certainly a result of the positive extremes that were being created on the push-up. Some exciting discussion about vaccines and all the different people are doing trials. But that's going to be the ebb and flow of it. It's not unsurprising. From an NQ standpoint, we still have to fill back in the low down at the 10,308. So that's still a little bit further to go from here. But right at the ABM, held up nicely. And you can still see the cyan below red. Likewise with the euro, still strong from that standpoint. Things are still a little more consistent with Europe because at least it's uniformly open, whereas America, you've got people just, every state seems to be a completely different country, randomly doing whatever it wants, no coherent strategy. Interesting failing from the federal construct. Certainly commerce is being inhibited by individual state behavior. It's going to be an interesting one going forward, how you reconcile that, because it's been very dysfunctional. And this was always a problem I talked about from day one when they talked about partial reopenings. And it's not a successful strategy. It won't work. You're either all working or it just doesn't mesh because so many different elements are in different places. And if those places aren't working, then you have disruptions and the supply chain is destroyed. So not effective, and that's why oil just continues to maintain its malaise because there's just too much uncertainty with it. Within that uncertainty, though, gold is still going to be the strongest from that standpoint. Continuing to look good. In fact, relatively weak short interest overall, so we would expect that to go. So from an intraday standpoint, we're looking at the 5K, and it started pretty early from the initial breakout. I mean, we ended up with positive extreme right off the bat at the E3 level, which definitely was another number that can be added into the category. But we cruised across pretty well, and then kept additionally breaking highs as cyan would move under red, and I mean even that way we get the orange dip below, and then break out to new moves, and then we started to get softer here because we started making higher highs, lower shakeouts, and then finally the shakeout broke below the negative 13, and then we started to see sigma events here where we had the dramatic spikes on those, and we were expecting at this particular point that you'd be getting much more of a downturn, but it kind of stayed flat all the way through it, and then that was until we ended up with this last DOC spread as we started to make a lower. You notice you're above zero over here with the red DOC, and then boom, you're making higher highs on lower red DOC, lower shakeout even from the previous lower shakeout. So it's like a triple whammy of higher highs but lower shakeouts, indicating that there was just a lot of transfer positioning to a short side, and you can see exactly how that played out. And boom, we came along. We ended up with a couple of decent configurations. This one from a turnaround buy came in literally right here after the cross below and the turn up, and then it faded quickly when you had the steel cross below that cyan. You'd already had green under red at that point, and then, green under red, and then red moved below the white there. So those were all the indications that there was going to be continued weakness on that. And that turned to be much more exacerbated because there was really not a whole lot. Fine, you had the 83 level right in between there. From the previous, the beginning of the day, and that broke down pretty quick, so that left 72. Once that one broke, then moved down to the 54, and then below that, you had the 40, and sure enough, came across the 40, and started to see gold rising within that while it was stabilizing. It wasn't until the red DOC finally got back above the negative 13.5 that you were starting to look for some strength, but during that you had no steel reset where we had that dip below red, and that literally started from the beginning of that signal, and it was pretty consistent. Without that steel reset that like took place right here, you're expecting a lot more weakness within that, and this may probably do okay for now, but it's probably still going to fade a little bit. We'll see if they get a turn down below the 13.5 range there and a tick above the magenta for a signal, but you can see put in some positive extremes, so we would expect that 54 to fade just a little bit, but super clean. Very happy with how that looked, and just points out that beauty of that steel not resetting below. Really doesn't give you much hope from some of those pops. Even from this one, it's like you have to be more defensive when you have those configurations, because without that, when you do get that crossover, usually you do get that weakness right after. It's not that there's anything wrong with the buy configuration coming in here, or even the blue setup that took place right there, but it doesn't take long. In fact, this one transition, that's why it stopped turning blue once that crossover took place. It's like over, so literally right at the algo level. And then you had your gold at the zero level, rarely turns around to the upside. It's usually not a good situation that you want to be involved in, but in this case it's finally developed some strength, but again, you've got the reset now, so it's easier to follow it from that particular spot going forward. So I think that was all really clean and pretty consistent with everything that we've looked at, and this is what you're going to get. Again, these beautiful volatility moves. I mean, that was a significant move when you think about it, from there at the 32.20 back down to 31.40. I mean, that's an 80-point move in general, top to bottom on that one. So you can't complain about that kind of range. As always, though, I will continue to put details up on the Skype chat. I know we were going over a lot of the different alert language and stuff that can be implemented in these, and that's something I'm adding to the Deocon Paints twos on some of these signals, so that if you do want to create alerts that will go to your emails and things like that, you'd be able to do it. As always, though, trade well, and we will talk again later.